Hi, and welcome to Medcurity Live. I'm April Needham, and I will be, we're switching it up a little bit today, and I'm going to be interviewing Amanda Hepper, one of Medcurity's co-founders, so we can learn a little bit more about her. So Amanda, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I have a background in healthcare, IT, and IT. I worked at a local company for about 10 and a half years and had the unique opportunity to develop a healthcare IT ambulatory services division. It's called Physician Services, and we implemented electronic medical record systems, practice management systems. I was responsible for sales, implementation, support, P&L. We implemented the electronic medical record system, practice management systems, and we developed 100 distinct bidirectional interfaces between these systems, making us one of GE's most integrated solutions in the United States, if not in the world, actually.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. To get to build a team is a lot of fun. Much of what we're doing at Medcurity. Then I worked for Lockheed Martin and oversaw software development and a process engineering program. We were tasked with developing this program to meet Carnegie Mellon certifications. So it was a cradle-to-grave systems engineering program. And what was fun about it is that we received a level 4 certification from Carnegie Mellon, and that was adopted Lockheed-wide because it gave us a leg up in acquiring government contracts.
Wow,
which was
very impressive. Yeah.
Something else I did that was a lot of fun, I took a kind of a hiatus from healthcare technology and did community outreach and international missions. And I like to think that that prepared me for different kinds of cultures, because in healthcare there's different specialties, different size organizations, different sectors, business sectors that we work with. So it equipped me well. So
great experience. Very interesting to hear that background. So what led you to start Medcurity? Where did that idea come from? How did we get going on this company?
It started with Bunko.
Bunko. Not what I expected. Okay, tell us about Bunko.
Okay, so Joel Galatly and I worked together at that healthcare IT company that I talked about earlier. And he and his family invited my husband and I to a Bunko party. And at that party, we were catching up, and Joe was sharing that he had a consulting business. And so it sounded very interesting, and the stars aligned, and I joined him in that consulting business. And we had our office in a downtown Spokane co-working location that had a lot of energy around startups. Part of what we were doing in this consulting business was conducting HIPAA security risk assessments, and found out that it's typically done by downloading an Excel spreadsheet that has about 155 questions with no embedded help or guidance in it. And we're like, this is horrible. And it is how most people do it. At the same time, there's a startup community, and we're hearing, hey, if you come up with a great idea, you could perhaps go through a program. You could apply and go through our program. And so we're sitting in this conference room just talking about the pain that it is to do these assessments, and it's like, oh my gosh, I know what we can do. We can come up with a solution for this. Yeah. And so that started that process. We went through the Mind to Market program in Spokane. We were approved. We received some pre-seed money to fund the development of our minimal viable product, and it started from there.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
it's a fun story.
Yes.
Now you'll attend more Bunko events.
That's exactly right.
Great story. Thanks for sharing that. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what Medcurity does?
Sure. So in our effort to address that problem head on, we went through the security rule, privacy rule, and developed we think an intuitive, and customers think this as well, an intuitive security risk assessment. So the number of questions was condensed. We still address everything that are in these rules, and with each question there is an embedded help.
Okay.
In layman's terms. So you can look at what that help is, and then you're equipped to answer that question. In addition to that, we have a link out to the Code of Federal Regulations that has that citation associated with it, and that has come in handy when people have conducted these assessments and then perhaps they need to get more IT resources or something like that to strengthen their compliance program. And by their ability to show their executives the Code of Federal Regulations saying, hey, we have to do this, it just strengthens the product for them.
Sounds very powerful.
Then the next thing we did is, so people complete these assessments, and then these issues are identified, and it's like, well, now what do I do? So for every issue identified, we provide a suggested remedial action. And not only that, I have a background in project management, really like matrices and action tracking systems and all of that. So Joe and I moved that into an action tracking module of Medcurity, all of those remedial actions. And so our users can make assignments. They're actually already prioritized for them because in the assessment, they assess the impact and the likelihood of that risk occurring. And so those priorities move over into the action tracking system for each action. And so they have a year to manage those actions within their organization. And there's dashboards, of course. So dashboards on the assessment as well as dashboards on the action tracking system. And those dashboards will move year over year so you can see your progress.
That's fantastic. So it does carry forward whatever we did last year so that we can log in and see what we need to do, where we pick up from this year and move forward.
Right. We like to call it the TurboTax model.
Great. Easy to understand. And
right.
Yeah, sounds easy to use. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So tell me, Amanda, in relation to HIPAA, what are the primary issues facing healthcare organizations today, in your opinion?
Well, Joe and Daniel Schwartz last week talked about the risk of the dark web and cybersecurity crimes. They're on the rise.
Sure.
You know, people that do hacking, I mean, it's infiltrated every single business, including healthcare. And so that's one of the number one issues. Education to employees on what kind of emails not to open, right? Phishing attacks and all of that. I think one of the number one issues are the number of hats that our customers wear. So oftentimes the CFO is the CIO, is a compliance officer, HIPAA officer, privacy officer.
Sure. Yeah.
So we want to provide a way to streamline HIPAA compliance for them.
That's great. So you mentioned last week's Medcurity Live episode.
Yes.
If our listeners wanted to go back and reference past episodes of Medcurity Live, where would they find those?
That is a great question. So on Facebook, if you go to the Medcurity page, you can see the prior episodes on that. We have a podcast now. Thank you, Jordan. So you can download the Medcurity podcast or subscribe to that and see prior episodes. And now we are on YouTube.
Yay, very exciting. Great. So what keeps you motivated? You've been in healthcare for a number of years. Yeah. What keeps you motivated?
Yeah, you know what? It's really easy for me to remain motivated in what we do because IT may be in the background with healthcare, but I think we're one of the backbones so that providers can do what they need to do with the patient, so administration can do what they need to do to keep the healthcare providers focused on the patients. It's about patient care. A couple of stories. One directly regarding Medcurity. On the last day of 2018, we had a practice administrator of a small practice realize that she needed to do her assessment.
Oh, wow.
Got a hold of us, purchased it, and did her assessment on that last day. We talked to her later in that day and asked her how it went, and she said, you know what? It was easy, intuitive to use, and I'm excited to track my actions for this next year in Medcurity. So knowing that we had that kind of value, it really keeps me motivated.
That's fantastic.
Another thing that I like to think about, and Joe's heard this story before, my mom lived with me for about 4 years and required a lot of healthcare, a lot of different kinds of specialties and providers. And so I would go with her, bring her to these appointments, and I would listen to these providers talk to her. Mm-hmm. And I would always, of course, notice the IT equipment, the systems behind the scenes, and knowing that IT supports those systems and lets them do what they need to do. In fact, it can save lives in some cases, like sending information to a provider on test results and all of that can save lives. So allowing providers to provide the best patient care, allowing the staff to support the providers in providing that care keeps me motivated.
Those are great stories. Thanks for sharing them.
My pleasure.
So as we wrap up here, I want to talk about what's next for Medcurity. I know you guys are going strong with the product that you have today, and what does the future hold?
Yeah, we're really excited for phase 2. So one of the number one issues that we have found in these assessments are having the right sized policies and procedures to manage their compliance programs. And so phase 2 will have a customizable set of policies and procedures that clients will be able to answer a set of questions and basically watch these procedures evolve as they're answering these questions. So it could be right sized to their organization. We're really excited about that. And then in addition to that, managing business associates or their vendors. So we will have a business associate management module as well. So they can send out business associate agreements to their business associates, have them signed, and hold those on Medcurity. In both of these instances, they will say how often they want the policies to be reviewed and the business associate agreements to be renewed. And so we will have proactive reminders to our customers on that.
Great. All right, is there anything else you want to talk about as far as upcoming stuff with Medcurity?
Sure. Beyond phase 2? One thing that we like to talk about is helping our customers create a culture of compliance. Mm-hmm. And so a part of phase 3 will be having training. And it won't be the once a year video that people watch. We want that to be proactive. There will be training videos or modules for them, but we also want to equip administrators and compliance officers with tips and things that they can send out to their organization. So it's proactive and it becomes second nature to their organizations, and I think that's really important.
That's fantastic. Exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Well, great.
So thank you for stepping in, April. It was very nice.
Thanks for inviting me to be part of today, and it was fantastic learning more about you. I've known you for a while, and it's very exciting
been fun
to hear. Yeah.
We also want to thank our listeners and our viewers. We'd love to have you put any questions on Facebook, YouTube, give us feedback or suggestions for future episodes, and we'll see you next week.